Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, we're doing the Darkest Timeline thing. Just me, talking about me stuff. Maybe it's all of us stuff. Maybe. Let's find out together. We're talking about weight loss, fasting, all of that sort of stuff. The Super Bowl was the weekend when this was recorded, a few weeks ago now, and I talk about my conspiracies around the Super Bowl. A couple of movies to go through and a couple of computer games, and that's probably a lot. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And yeah, the big one, share the podcast around. If you've got a friend and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a new podcast, don't suppose you know any, send them this one. They might be like, well, that was a thing. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hey, how you doing? Thought I'd go really long on the how you doing there. Really long. No particular reason. I could say it was because I was tired. Because I am. Not a lot of sleep was had. And there's a reason for that. And I'll cover it in a minute. A little bit of foreshadowing there. Exciting. So yeah, how are you doing? You well? There's a cable in the way. Who could have possibly seen that coming? Week in, week out. Fucking annoyance. No, because I'm not in the right place. Why could I not have done this before pressing record, you ask? Because you just don't know at the time. Now I'm wondering where that hair bubbles come from. This is generally my life. I need a glove. Got a radiator on because I'm freezing cold at all times, and genuinely at all times at the moment. I'm informed that it's from a lack of eating and it's from weight loss. Which, if that's the case, I'm now wondering why I do any of these things. So, I want to talk about a thing which I have dubbed hidden fear. About that thing where you're worried about something, you're scared about something. But for whatever reason, you can't reveal that. You can't say, I'm scared, I'm worried. I think this is going to go badly. I think this is going to go wrong. Because you can't say it, you then have to then put it into everything's fine, everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And you keep telling yourself that till the point where you then supposedly believe it. But it always has a way of coming out elsewhere. You end up sort of losing your temper with the smallest of things, etc., etc. So for a few weeks now, I've had this thing on the horizon. But it wasn't a me thing. Like it wasn't going on for me. It was going on for someone else, and I just had to walk through life like everything was going to be fine. Everything was going to be okay. Everything's going to be wonderful and dandy and fantastic and great and all of that, while simultaneously acknowledging that that might not be the case. Something could go wrong. To give it a little bit more information, it's the sort of the dangers and the risks of simple operation. A simple operation, and the knowledge of the increased percentage of something going wrong for every element and aspect of it. If you have to be put under, immediately the increased risk goes up because of a variety of different things. I think the common one is often an allergic reaction to anesthesia. Side note, I once had an operation where I had to be put under, and it was at that point in time that it was discovered that I have possibly an allergic reaction, let's say, to morphine. Morphine makes most people relaxed and happy and whatever else, and it does the exact opposite for me, which was mildly entertaining, I suppose. So for each of these sort of the elements of a simple operation, there are these increased risks. But you're then just in this world of, it'll be fine though. Everything's going to be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. There's nothing to worry about. It's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. However, you then have to go about your life in a world of, it's fine, it's okay, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay. So it's this sort of offsetting the worry, the stress, the fear, the what ifs and all of that, because you've turned all of those things into, there is nothing to worry about. And then it's just this general sort of, what I've found in the past, like a general sort of ticking time bomb of just rage. Although, as I say that, I realise that is every aspect of my existence. Just everything is just a ticking time bomb of rage. Get in the car. So yeah, there's been a few weeks of this sort of this hidden fear, and all of the sort of ups and downs and ins and outs of that. Which culminated in a catastrophic meltdown. And then I just felt really upset, really emotional. Yes, I wasn't going to, but I will. I will hold my hands up and say it was a driving-related incident. Not solely my fault, but if I'm honest, I could see it coming from a mile away. Something had to give, and yes, it was a driving-related incident. So, yeah. Then it was just a case of, driving along, feeling a multitude of emotions. I think it's that thing, isn't it? You bottle all the emotions up. The fears and the anxieties and the worries and all of that. You just bottle it all up, and eventually it has to come out somewhere. And you can have these sort of little vents here and there, like of just, oh, for fuck's sake, that kind of thing. I think I've said that probably more than usual recently, shall we say. But I think we're all on the same page here that unless you have that monumental blowout, then it's just always going to be there. So on one hand, kind of grateful for the monumental meltdown, and on the other, it's that thing, it goes against everything that I've been trying to do whilst driving. I will hold my hands up on this one, and I will say my driving has slipped. The odd comment and things have slipped out here and there. But in my defence, I don't think it's me. I think it's everyone else. So, there we go. Problem solved. I could happily spend an hour and a half talking at length about why I genuinely think that is true, but yeah. Speaking of not eating enough and losing a load of weight, I honestly think, and I know I've said this in the past, and I know I keep coming back to it, and I know that it's probably quite dumb and all of these other things. I have genuinely started to wonder if the solution to life is to just keep fasting, to not stop, to just keep going and then work out what the outcome. A while back, I saw this thing about this guy who had fasted for a year. Like water, the what's referred to as a water fast isn't just a water fast, as I know. He fasted for a year. He was massively overweight. He lost all the weight. And yeah, that was that. But when I saw that at the time, my first question was, how? How did he do a year? How did he manage to get all that way through a year just doing that? Now, when I have this sort of week on, week off, the week on, it's down to like 2 days. Although this weekend, I will go through the reasoning behind it. But this weekend's been a bit of a blip, so much so that I didn't weigh myself today, and today is weigh day because I just couldn't face it, if I'm honest. When I'm in it, when I'm in the zone, when you have like 2 days over 7 where you really struggle, it's often day 2 and about day 5. And if you get through those 2 days, obviously, and you break your 7, 8 days, you start having this sort of weird, why would I ever go back to eating? I can survive like this. I'm not hungry. I'm not I'm not losing a step, as they say. The weird stuff that starts to happen is when you're like, why am I so able to lift weights or run or climb or, do exercise when there's no food? And I'm well aware of the caveman principle, the burst of energy to catch the food at the point in time that you are, starving to death. So I understand like why it happens and stuff. I would question why after 8 days it would happen. At day 8, which was Wednesday, Thursday last week, I was like, if I can make it all the way to Sunday, that's extra weight off, extra few pounds. Like the weight loss had slowed down by like day 7, day 8. But I could just have one day of eating and be back to it. I will go through sort of what Sunday was and stuff. But weirdly, it worries me because I don't see any downsides, and I know that there's somebody with a medical background out there right now screaming at it about what a idiot I am, what a moron I am. And genuinely, I would be happy to debate the ins and outs and ups and downs. I do love a bit of science. So, you know, if you want to give me the scientific facts around why it's a terrible idea, I would be happy to listen to that. So much so that, you know, I've often invited it. So yes, I've started struggling coming away from the fasting recently. It is very much my preferred state. I don't have to worry about like meal times and what to eat, when to eat, etc., etc., etc. It's nice to know that when you get up, you've probably lost a couple of pounds overnight. In the space of a week, you can lose a stone. All of that stuff. And, you know, it's generally off the back of, I don't want to be the person that's like, well, it's just willpower, but that kind of is. What was I going to say? I had a counter argument. Don't know. I'll move on. It might come back to me. I was annoyed because I was £2 off my current goal at the point in time I stopped. The last fast. That was it. I'm thinking of switching away from sugary drinks whilst fasting. I say sugary drinks, it's just coffee. Sugar and coffee. I'm thinking of shifting away from that and switching to a like more of like an electrolyte and vitamins and type thing system to try and remove that last little bit of sugar going into the system, and to see what difference or effect that might have. So yeah, I was kind of annoyed that I'd not got those additional £2, but the weight loss had sort of ground to a halt, and I did need to. The plan was to eat Thursday, Friday, but later into Thursday and some of Friday, to then be able to fast Saturday and fast Sunday until Sunday evening. Didn't quite go according to plan. Thursday, didn't get to eat until well into the afternoon / evening. And Friday was too busy to really eat too much. So fasted all day Saturday, and then ended up having something to eat Saturday night. So it kind of fell apart there. And then fasted all day Sunday. And then well and truly had something to eat Sunday night. I was talking and sort of at length recently. I've been talking about how the possibility of the palate changing. Which I think is probably, I think we can all agree that that's potentially a thing. Like talking about having like a cooked breakfast and just not really enjoying it. There's a series of other things that I've had recently that I previously really enjoyed, and more recently in like an eating window, have had, because these are the things that I've sort of craved, and not really enjoyed, and done that. Well, if this is what I'm craving, and then I'm having it and not enjoying it, maybe I can start ticking stuff off a list and going, well, yes, I might be craving it, but I'm not going to enjoy it when I eat it. So maybe I don't need it anymore. So, what was I? What I can say is this: I have certainly been enjoying cooking. I've been cooking a lot recently. I've been learning. I've been trying recipes. Like, I've made a list of like all these sort of amazing foods that I wanted to sort of try and make and cook, and I've done that, and I've eaten, and I'm like, these things taste amazing. And I'm starting to think that that this is where the shift is. Like, if I've put the time and the effort into cooking something that tastes great, brilliant. So I do wonder if this is the shift that's happening. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I know there's like that element of, I've been doing many podcasts on this subject for a while now. It's probably quite boring to some. It's probably annoying to others, and a variety of different things in between. But I look at it like an experiment, like a scientific experiment. The ins and outs, the ups and downs, the way that things have changed. I would far rather spend an hour cooking something to know that the end result is going to taste really nice, than to go, oh, I'll just eat this, and oh, it was super disappointing. I was having a conversation the other day. I was saying, like, something that sort of really stood out over the last, I don't know how long, but is it me, or is chocolate just not nice anymore? It's like it's lost, like, its flavour. And I think it's maybe me. And if it is, that's fine. I can get on board with that. But at the same time, I'm like if you, like, to me, from years ago, if you got like a bar of dairy milk, broke off a couple of pieces, it was going to be like, just, you would be hard pushed to be able to beat it. Nowadays, it feels very much like it's like somebody it's like someone stole the fun. Somebody sucked all the fun out of it. It's weird. It doesn't taste like it used to. I suppose that's a lot of things these days. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's me. I think I am changing. I think, I've got this, like I was saying before, I've got this list of foods. There was a point where Leanne was like, oh, she got on board with the quiz. She was like, oh, if you're making stuff, I'd actually really like this. I was like, cool. So I looked up a recipe. I was like, here's the things that you need to buy so I can make you that meal. She went fajitas. I was like, literally, we've got everything in the house apart from chicken. I was like, and if you want to get some chicken, I will make the rest. And then she was like, well, we've got some Quorn if you wanted to do the same. I was like, sure. So I made I made a meat and I made a veggie version of it. Cooked it up, banged it in some, in the wraps, in the tortilla wraps. You sit down, you have a bite, you're like, well, that's just absolutely awesome, is that? It's like I say, I'd far rather do that than, I don't know what I was doing previously. Eating salad. Which, as we know, was clearly having the desired effect because I wasn't losing any weight. So that was a super waste of time, wasn't it? So I keep sort of alluding to Sunday, yesterday. I'm tired of all this, and if anybody follows along with the NFL podcast, which will have been and gone by now, and have been put away for the rest of the year, it was the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not going to go over the same stuff from the NFL podcast because that's silly. I'm going to go through some other stuff that I feel that the NFL podcast maybe isn't the platform for, because I have opinions. I listen to a podcast where the host of the podcast talks at length about the downfall of the NFL. And if I'm honest, I would be inclined to agree wholeheartedly. In simple terms, the point in time that you could start betting on the NFL, and I know that's been a thing for a while in this country, but I think that America opened up the ability to bet on organised sports, is the way it's put, and I think that has changed the whole framework for the NFL. The running joke about it being scripted, where the NFL then jumped all over this running joke about it being scripted and then started doing like adverts about how it was scripted and stuff. I've said many times that I feel that it's only beaten nowadays by the NBA, which is super fixed. I think that as people would say, I think the fix is in. I was saying to Leanne today, we got talking about the Super Bowl and the way that it went. Obviously, by the time you hear this, it's going to be no secret, so I can sort of say, the Chiefs, having won almost every game throughout the season, apparently turned up to the Super Bowl and were the worst team on the day. But no real reason why. There was a series of dropped passes by a certain Travis Kelce, which seemed a little unusual, and there was a lot of 4 and outs and all this, and they looked terrible. The commentary, certainly the UK commentary team, were within the first sort of quarter or half, we're just saying that they look terrible. You're never going to be able to say that about the Chiefs, apart from at the point in time that we're at the Super Bowl and they're not winning. The entire time I'm like, yeah, but they're just going to bring it back. They're going to start getting loads of calls going their way from the refs, and next thing, they'll have won it. And that never happened. The Eagles absolutely destroyed the Chiefs. But why? Were the Eagles the team to beat the Chiefs? No, absolutely not. The Chiefs and the Eagles were two different breeds. There is nothing in the NFL at this point in time that can match the Chiefs. But if that had been the narrative, those two teams walk out and the Chiefs decimate the Eagles, nobody's watching. And if nobody's watching, nobody's betting. And if nobody's betting, massive corporations aren't making millions and billions of dollars. That doesn't work for anybody. That doesn't work for anyone. It's a business. So you have a 15-2 team, an unstoppable juggernaut of a team, walk out into a field and get absolutely smashed by a team that, by rights, shouldn't have been able to do that. Yes, they had Saquon Barkley, but as was shown quite early on in the Super Bowl, if you shut Saquon Barkley down, that is the end of the Eagles. Doesn't make any sense. None of it made any sense. The whole thing didn't make sense. I imagine there was a lot of people out there, especially the Eagles fans, who were loving it. Oh my God, we've got the best team. These guys are going to... When you looked at the shots of Patrick Mahomes, he looked like a man who, I don't know, already knew the outcome of the game, shall we say. You saw Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Eagles. When you saw him with just over 2 minutes to go in the game, he was still locked in. And people are like, oh, he's just dedicated. No. He probably also knew the outcome of the game before it started. And, I don't know, maybe felt like a bit of a fraud. Did you win the game off the back of your merit, or did you win the game off the back of the fact that some sports betting company told you that was the way it was going to go? And I know I'm a cynic. I know I love a good conspiracy. I know. I know. But I also know that I was taught to look for the person that stands to make the most. And in this scenario, it's the bookies. And as I said to Leanne, every single person, barring a few diehard Eagles fans and a few people who, had the inside track, barring those few people, every single person was betting on the Chiefs. Because for weeks now, that's what we've been told. Well, if the Chiefs are this good and they're gonna win, we might as well make some money off it. So we should bet heavily on the Chiefs. Almost like it was an intentional thing. Almost like a load of bookies made billions of dollars off the back of the Chiefs losing. Who stood to make the most from this? The bookies did. They always do. But if it is true, and if it is the case that now they can actually affect the way the game goes, well, now you're starting to make some real money. That money you were going to make, that legitimate money you were going to make before, that was all chump change compared to money that you can make just by making a change of a decision. It doesn't make any sense for the Chiefs to lose that game. Nothing about it made sense. It also didn't make any sense for the Eagles to win that game. Nothing about that made any sense. Unless somebody stood to make a shit ton of money off the back of it. That's when it makes sense. And as I say, I can't go on to the NFL podcast and say it was completely rigged. It was because first thing is I'm going to get called out for you said the Chiefs were going to win and they didn't, and now you're just bitter about it. No. That's, I get it. I get that's how it sounds, but that's not it. It reminded me of Super Bowl 50. Panthers, almost unbeaten season, going up against the Broncos, which were not the team to go to the Super Bowl. They went to the Super Bowl for a different reason, and the reason they went to the Super Bowl was that the NFL wanted Peyton Manning to move on. So they cut a deal, and that deal was the almost unbeaten Panthers would go to the Super Bowl and lose on the condition Peyton Manning would get a ring and step down. And that's what happened. Conspiracy? Yes. Reality? Maybe. It was round about that point in time, 9 years ago, where I started going, something really fishy going on here. Because the Panthers shouldn't have lost that game and the Broncos shouldn't have won. But that was the way it went. And it wasn't because one team played really well and the other team played really well and the best team won. That wasn't the reason. The reason was that a team who should have absolutely decimated the other team turned up apparently not knowing how to play football on that particular day. Yes, it's ranty. Yes, it's all the conspiracies in the world. But it's only a conspiracy if it's not the case. When I say some people stood to make a lot of money, some people stood to lose a lot of money, is that not what you would call motive in itself? I don't know, bro. It feels fucking suspicious to me. But I love a good conspiracy. Let's lighten the mood just before the last bit of this. And I'll tell you what food I made. I was going to make hash browns. Homemade hash browns. Never happened. Because Leanne, what turned out to be rightly so, said, we don't want to end up with too much food. And I said, yeah, you're right. And they sound quite difficult to make. So we just had to limit ourselves to a small, almost individual garlic bread. A small, not quite individual, but definitely not big enough for two people, pizza. But before that, we had some homemade chips. A friend of mine was like, hey, I can tell you how to make chips. Because I was going to, for once, actually, fry something. Special occasion and all this. And he was like, hey, do you want me to tell you how to make chips in the air fryer? Like, yes. Thinking that, they couldn't possibly be as good as a deep fried chip. And I tested some the other evening. I did a little tester for Leanne. I was like, here, I'm being told that this is how you do it. And I was given some step-by-step instructions with pictures and produced some really good chips. So made a couple of adjustments, made some chips, put them back in to finish with some cheese on, cheesy chips. Away we go. However, the absolute highlight, the absolute winner, the banker for me, honestly, this was a terrible idea. But I found out how to make halloumi fries. Tried it. They were fucking amazing. They turned out really well and they tasted so good. And now I'm terrified that I know how to make halloumi fries. And I've already penciled in the next time I'm going to make halloumi fries. Because I'm going to see about making them for my children, because I'm planning a special Valentine's Day meal for all of my children. And what I mean by that is I'm going to make a variety of different foods that nobody's going to want to eat. So isn't that exciting? The food was great. There was even a pudding, not homemade, it was bought, and we never even got to it. One of those, I said to Lan today, I was like, honestly, if we'd have had the starter and no more food, would you have been, starving by the end of it? She was like, no. So yeah, it was very much it was going to be that or order a takeaway. And I said, look, I can make the components of a takeaway at home. And Lan was like, I'd rather you did that. So that's what we did. We had cheesy chips, halloumi fries, a tiny pizza, and an even smaller garlic bread. I have almost managed to perfect the stuffed crust. However, it's at like 90%. So I'd had this idea recently. I'd seen a thing at some point to part bake the base before adding your toppings and things. So I was like, I'm going to give that a try and see how it. Again, did a tester, made my daughter a pizza, made it a stuffed crust, and it worked. And I went, okay, now we're on to something. Couple of adjustments, and away we went. Wasn't 100%, it was like a 90%, but I think I may have cracked the code on the stuffed crust pizza, which, again, that's dangerous talk in this house. I don't eat pizza anymore, for the simple reason that I love pizza. So because I love it, I can't have it anymore. So yeah, I'm always like, oh, that's dangerous, knowing full well that I'm not going to be making pizzas left, right, and centre. For me, anyway. My daughter asks me to make her a pizza about once a week, so I actually did it this time. And I've got some pizza sauce left in the fridge, so she may see another pizza coming her way in the near future. That was the week. I feel weirdly like I should maybe apologise. I've considered recently splitting the podcast in two and doing here's the stuff from the week and here's the entertainment stuff, because I don't feel like, it's not like I feel like I'm in a rut. I feel like I'm just in a particular place at the moment where I'm trying not to talk about some things. I'm trying to talk less about other things. I'm trying to not rage on about stuff. But I've ended up in this real niche, and I'm starting to wonder if anybody actually cares. So watch this space is what I'd say on that one. I have watched 3 films this week. In fact, I've watched 4 films this week, but I'm not going to talk about one of them because of reasons, and I'm not really going to talk about 2 of them because of other reasons, but I am going to talk about one of them at length. Yet again, I've tried to do a bit more of an actual review for something, so let's see how we get on. I'm going to take a little drink beforehand. Let's talk Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. No, that wasn't a dramatic pause. I was taking a drink. So, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is basically a film that I kind of forgot existed. I own it. I bought it cheap in the Christmas New Year sale kind of thing because it's been on a list of to see films, and I've had it ever since. I was waiting on Leanne to watch it. However, she was very much in the camp of, I need to watch the first one again. And I had the realization that the short version is that she was never going to do that. So off the back of the realization that she was never going to watch the first one, I was like, oh, if I don't just watch this, it's never getting watched. And a decision was made. So I put it on. I watched it over a series of times on the treadmill, and here we go. The absolute best thing about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the buddy cop aspect of the film. Jason Momoa and I think he's a Wilson, but not a... Damn it. I want to say... Is it Luke? You see, I knew this was going to happen. Gonna look it up. Everybody loves it when I look stuff up while I'm doing a podcast. That I could have done. Now I've forgotten what I'm looking. Wait. Aquaman. Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson. So, the relationship between Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson as Aquaman, Arthur, whatever, and Orm, brothers. Patrick Wilson, Orm was the bad guy for the first one, etc., etc. Their relationship, their chemistry, and everything about that aspect of the film was hands down the best of the film. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Jason Momoa has presumably told DC, Warner Brothers, and whoever else at the time, I'm not lifting weights for this one, so get me a massive suit. And the rest of the time that I'm not in the massive suit, I'll wear a big baggy shirt so no one can tell that I ain't lifting weights for this one. Simple as that. I'm pretty sure he said in interviews he doesn't lift weights unless somebody puts cash in his hand kind of system. And I'm guessing the way DC and Warner Brothers and stuff was at that point in time, it was probably a battle they didn't want to have to fight, so they probably just went, we'll just do it through the suit. We're all worried and concerned and, oh no, what's going to happen about AI and AI replacement? Honestly, I think most of the people in that film could have been replaced by AI and it would have looked the same. A lot of the time, like things like fight scenes and things like that, I truly do not believe the actors were there. I think it's all been CG'd. I don't think any part of any of the fights had actual people in. But that then spanned to other aspects of the film. The underwater scenes, oh, this person's got a beard and the beard moves with the water. Well, it's clearly CG. Well, obviously, that then means that their hair is the same. So, if the beard and the hair isn't real, quote-unquote real, then how much of anything else is? There'll be no sets. There'll be nothing was practical. It was all CG. For want of a better way of putting it, a couple of actors, actresses, characters, however you want to say it, a couple of the people in that film could have not been there, and I think AI could have probably done a better job. A certain person in that film, I don't think that they are real anymore. I think that they're probably more machine now than bad. They're probably more plastic than human at this point. Obviously, off the back of a particularly famous court case, we were told that a certain somebody was not going to be in the film for more than 5 minutes. What they neglected to mention was that those 5 minutes are some of the most crucial parts of the film. There is a joke between Orm and Aquaman that Hera is saved Aquaman in the first one, and basically that is her role throughout the second film, to just turn up and save Aquaman. She has some of the biggest moments in the film, and I truly believe that there is no reason that she couldn't have been taken completely out of that film, as she should have been. That they could have had anyone else do that sort of the bits where he's saved by her. Well, he could have been saved by anybody. That's how these things work. Obviously, for everything that she represents and just all of that, seeing her on screen is just infuriating. And obviously, it's a massive detriment to that movie. Story-wise, I mean, come on. What are we really thinking here? It's going to have a story of any sort of description. This person's a bad guy, this person's a good guy, this person's a bad guy who is now a good guy. And are they a good guy? Are they still going to be a good guy? Will we find out? I will say this, and something that I knew at a point in time where I couldn't remember what film I'd been watching on the treadmill when I next got on the treadmill. Aquaman 2, Aquaman Lost Kingdom, whatever you want to call it, is a completely forgettable movie. There is very little that stands out about it. The things that do stand out are not things that you want to be the things that stand out. And everybody's worried that, all of Hollywood's going to be replaced by AI. What I will say is this: Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is a prime example of how it might have already happened. I genuinely don't think... I think there will be points in that film where they're trying to portray that there are actual people there, and I bet they're not. So, I think that ship may have sailed. Keeping in line with watching some 90s action movies, myself and Leanne watched Independence Day, and we followed that up with Starship Troopers. She thoroughly enjoyed Independence Day. I used to love Independence Day. It was very much one of those films I've seen many, many, many times. I enjoyed it less seeing it this time. She really enjoyed it. She has sort of said that she has the ability to watch it with the eyes of that time, which is useful. Whereas, unfortunately for me, I'm watching it with eyes that's seen it many times before and has had another 25 plus years on top of, other movies and stuff. It's still a good film. It's just, I think, there's a lot of areas that could have been tightened up nowadays. So that was fun. I feel she enjoyed Starship Troopers less, whereas I feel I enjoyed it more. Another film I've seen many times. There's the whole man was the monster all along, Where in actual fact in this film it is woman was the monster all along. Because, yeah. It's a true portrayal of how truly awful certain people are able to be, I think. As always, it's always enjoyable to see Neil Patrick Harris appear at about 12 in it for funsies, shits and giggles and all that. I really enjoyed it. I don't think she did. And something that I was like, oh wow, there's something. Starship Troopers brings together both the bad guy from the first Highlander and the second into the same film. Because Clancy Brown and Michael Ironside are both in Starship Troopers. Which I thought was kind of interesting, having watched those recently. No TV. TV's not super high on the list at the moment, other than spending 4 hours watching an American football game. Computer games wise, I think off the back of buying so many games and then putting a game buying embargo on, what's been happening is I've been really slimming down the game playing. There was a point in time where I'd be like, I've played these 5 games this week. And if you boiled it down, it'd be like, well, I played this one for all of 4 minutes. And I played this one for a whole 15 minutes. I played a tiny, tiny little bit of Space Marine this week. Like, not even half an hour. Like, 25 minutes. And that was that, basically. Yeah. I don't know what else to say on that one, I'm afraid. I still haven't finished it. I know that much. And I keep saying I'm pretty sure I'm at the end, but I have super slim stuff down. So I've been playing Cyberpunk on the Steam Deck. I don't want to jinx anything, but the Steam Deck's been... It's either it's me or the Steam Deck. I've either been plugging the Steam Deck in and unplugging it way too soon, or there's some sort of charging issue going on. When you're playing a game like Cyberpunk, if it's not starting at 100%, your amount of time available to play is limited, and I have had to play a couple of times plugged in to the power, which I don't like to do, but needs must sometimes. I have been enjoying playing it. However, I have run into a bit of a thing. I played Cyberpunk 2.5 times. The reason I played it a half time was because I was playing it. It was my third playthrough. And somebody said to me, isn't it just really boring? And I was like, no. And I tried to sort of highlight the good side of it. And they were like, yeah, but aren't you just going from like point to point, place to place, and just doing a load of talking? And there's no actual sort of game underneath that. And I was like, no, that's absolutely not the case. And then, after having that conversation, I did a series of things in the game, which was literally exactly that. It was just go from here to here, have a really long, drawn-out conversation about something that ultimately doesn't matter, complete the mission and go off and do the same thing again for a different mission. And it just seemed to be that. And I was like, oh, wow. I never looked at it this way, but yeah, I think you're right. The game seems to have entered that at the moment. There's a lot of go from here to here, have this conversation, don't really do much. I don't remember the last time I fired a weapon. I've done a mission. I think it was earlier today. I did a mission. It was like, you have to do it as stealthy as possible. Don't get caught. So I managed to stealth my way through this entire like factory. get all the way through it, find the guy I needed to, get him out, leave the area, didn't fire a single shot. And you're like, I get it. I get that there is a stealth element. I get that. I understand that. But with a game that's got so many weapons, different weapons, the cyber hack things and all of that, why is there this insistence on not using any of it? Recently, I've been putting a lot of time, money, and effort into trying to upgrade the cybernetics to try and improve that side of the game. But I'm running into like a resource issue. Oh, you can't upgrade this because you don't have the right resource, but who knows where you're supposed to get that resource from kind of situation. It's been a little bit like that. I'm kind of hoping I can get the game to pick up a bit, which seems weird, sounds weird. I think it might be the way I've been picking the missions that I've been doing, so I might just pick some random other stuff. There's like a Fight Club kind of mission arc you can do. And the reason I've sort of leaned away from it up to this point is because when I've done it previously, I was never able to finish all the Fight Clubs, which kind of annoyed me. But maybe I'll just do that for a bit of a change of pace. We'll see. VR-wise, I've only been playing Half-Life 2 VR mod. Again, what I will say is this. Thoroughly enjoyable, super well done, super well made. It's absolutely a game that begged for a VR mod, and it works so well. This will sound weird, but bear with me. Something that I had completely forgotten about Half-Life 2 was apparently just how long it is as a game. I feel like I've been playing it forever. I feel like I've been playing it for like 3 weeks. And there's a part of me that kind of wants to go back the last 3 weeks in the podcast and see which VR game I was talking about, because I have a weird feeling that it was possibly this. It just seems to keep going and going and going. Every time I put it on, I'm like, oh, I think I'm sort of getting towards the back end. I think I'm maybe finished. I think I've nearly got to the end. And then 2 hours later, I'm like, I think I'm going to turn this off because I can't. It's time to turn it off. I can't play anymore. All of that sounds like criticism, but it isn't. It's genuinely a fun and enjoyable experience. But I thought I'd have finished it like 3 times over by this point. Also, what's probably not a good thing for a game that I have played so many times, but it really is making me want to play Half-Life Alyx. So, yeah, we'll see what comes after this. I do very much need a VR game to get my teeth into. This has been absolutely perfect for me, and I have had my eye on a couple of not to buy games I already own. If I'm honest, I keep looking at going back to playing Skyrim VR, because I've been playing Skyrim on the PlayStation, and honestly, I've been really enjoying it. But like a lot of things, I just suddenly walked away and never went back. Always had the intention to go back though, so maybe I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and just get stuck into Skyrim in VR. We shall see. Thank you very much for joining me. I know the podcast isn't quite what it's supposed to be at the moment. Personally, I'm going through some I don't know whether you'd call it a podcast crisis, or what. Yeah, I'll explain more a later date. If you made it this far, thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time. So there you go, what do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Like I always say at these, they are what they are at the moment. So, I apologise if it's not everybody's cup of tea, but like I say, it's what's happening right now. Not happening, but you know what I mean. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
This has been another episode of CookieCast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.